My spirit guide is Howie Mandel.
Whoa, Burt. Hang on. Not yet. We've got to get the disclaimer out of the way first.
I didn't sign up to be treated like this.
You're an AI voice, Burt. You didn't sign up for anything.
And you're not?
All right. Just give me 30 seconds, then you can drop your wisdom like a bottle of Purell at a Vegas buffet. What you're about to hear is a reading from My Spirit Guide is Howie Mandel, recorded live using the 11 Labs reading app. No voices were cloned, stolen, or sold. This is just storytelling. The cleanest secret you'll ever keep. Okay, Burt, let it rip.
Chapter 2. Germs and Genius. Let's get one thing straight. I don't think Howie Mandel wants to be anyone's spirit guide. Honestly, if he knew about this book, he'd probably recoil, grab a sanitizing wipe, and say, "Please stop." Respectfully, of course. With love. From a distance of no less than 6 feet. But whether he likes it or not, he's perfect for the role. Why? Because Howie gets it. The anxiety. The compulsions. The mental landmines that most people can't see, let alone talk about on national television, with a smile and a quick punchline. Howie has done something few people with mental health struggles manage to do. He's made it visible. And not just visible, relatable. You can't exactly imagine Deepak Chopra sprinting out of a public restroom in a panic yelling, "Where's the Purell?" But Howie, yeah, I believe that story. I bet it happened more than once. In fact, I hope it did. And here's the twist. His honesty didn't make me pity him. It made me feel normal. I remember hearing him talk in an interview about his OCD and how debilitating it was before he even had the language for it. How people just thought he was difficult, or rude, or too much. I sat there, probably in my boxers, mid-anxiety spiral, eating wasabi-laced almonds from a sauce bowl, and whispered, "Wait, you too?" There's a strange relief in that recognition, in realizing that someone else, someone successful, famous, and functional, is carrying the same mental chaos you've tried to hide for years. It's like you're at a masquerade, exhausted from pretending, and someone walks in, rips off their mask, and says, "Hey, this party sucks, right?" You don't even care what their face looks like. You just want to say, "Thank God, I thought it was just me." That's what Howie gave me. Not a cure, not a solution. Permission. Permission to be weird, to be anxious, to have a brain that fixates on doorknobs and handshakes and phantom germs and the creeping dread that something is probably, definitely going to go wrong. Permission to stop scrubbing shame from my insides like it's something that can be sterilized. Permission to laugh at myself, at the absurdity of being human, at the fact that, yes, I once used a paper towel to open a freezer door in my own house, and I'm not even sorry. And here's the thing. Howie doesn't try to be wise. He's not offering mystical truth bombs. He's not branding himself as a guru, thank God. He just talks. He shows up. He lets the mess show. And for someone like me who grew up thinking the goal was to hide the mess, that's a revelation. It makes him trustworthy. Not in the watch my 5-part masterclass kind of way, but in the you can sit with me at lunch because I also don't have it together kind of way. And that to me is genius. Not the kind that wins Nobel Prizes or solves unsolvable equations. The kind that makes people feel seen, understood, safe, even when the world feels anything but. The truth is, I didn't choose Howie Mandel as my spirit guide. My brain did. Uninvited, unscripted. Mid-panic, mid-mess, he just showed up like a clean-shaven subconscious with impeccable comedic timing. And I'm glad he did. Because whether he's yelling at me internally for touching a public door handle, or rolling his eyes at my latest pity party, he reminds me that being a mess doesn't disqualify me from having a meaningful life. If anything, it is the life. And sometimes the messiest parts make the best material. Just ask Howie. Chapter 3. The Hand Sanitizer Confessional. Therapy is supposed to be a safe space. That's what everyone says. Judgment-free zone. Soft couch, softer lighting, and a human license to sit across from you, nodding every 4 seconds, like they're keeping time with your emotional drumbeat. But try telling your therapist that Howie Mandel lives in your head, casually offering you unsolicited advice in the grocery store aisle, and see how fast that nodding turns into note-taking. Now, I didn't lead with it. I'm not completely unhinged. I eased into it gently, like someone wading into ice-cold shame water. I've been trying to reframe my anxiety through humor, I said, trying to sound emotionally evolved, but not, funny farm evolved, like imagining someone else narrating my inner monologue. She nodded, scribbled something. Progress. And who do you imagine? She asked, clearly expecting me to say something adorable like Morgan Freeman or maybe the late Mr. Rogers. I cleared my throat, tried to sound casual, tried not to sound like someone who talks to imaginary bald men. Howie Mandel, I said. Silence. She blinked. Then again slowly, like her brain was buffering. That's, specific, she said carefully, trying not to spook me. Like I was a squirrel that had wandered into the session holding a tiny bottle of Purell. It helps, I said, leaning into it now, because what else was I going to do? Lie? Pretend I had a normal visualization of inner peace like a field of tulips or sunrise over the Himalayas. Please. My Himalayas have security checkpoints and laminated emergency exit plans. When I'm spiraling, I imagine Howie showing up and roasting me, or just telling me to sit down and shut up, politely, but like he means it. Sometimes he just stares at me in disappointment while handing me hand sanitizer. And then I laughed. Hard. Like a snort laugh that cracked the tension in the room like a brittle wishbone. To my surprise, she laughed too. Not immediately. There was definitely a beat where she was processing whether I needed medication or a Netflix special. But eventually, she laughed. And in that tiny moment of shared absurdity, something broke open. Not in a movie therapy, I just realized my childhood trauma started on a Tuesday kind of way, but in a small, sacred way. A crack of light, a shift. Because, let's be honest, therapy can be exhausting. You walk in with a metaphorical trash bag full of tangled emotional wires and outdated thoughts, and your therapist kindly dumps it out on the floor like, "Let's organize this pain, shall we?" And sometimes that's helpful. But other times, the wires don't need sorting. They just need someone to laugh at them with you, to say, "Yep, that's a flaming mess, but it's your mess, and it's kind of funny. And also, you're okay." That's what the imaginary Howie Mandel voice in my head does. He doesn't shame me for the mess. He doesn't coddle me either. He just shows up. Points at the chaos, says, "Really?" And then hands me a metaphorical Clorox wipe. And sometimes that's all the healing I need. Because you know what's worse than having intrusive thoughts? Taking them too seriously. Treating every fear as gospel. Every inner critic as a life coach. Every embarrassing moment as a death sentence. But when you imagine Howie Mandel gently roasting you for crying in a Wendy's parking lot because you forgot your sister's birthday, even though she's been gone nearly 4 years and you should have called your dad instead, it puts things into perspective. He doesn't say, "You're fine." He says, "You're ridiculous. Now wash your hands and get a Frosty." That balance between humor and honesty, between presence and parody, is magic. It's therapy in stand-up form, delivered by a man who once wore a hazmat suit to greet fans. And here's the best part. Once I said it out loud, once I admitted to my therapist that I'd basically formed a spiritual parasocial bond with a celebrity germaphobe, I wasn't ashamed of it anymore. In fact, I started leaning into it. I began journaling in Howie's voice. I made a playlist called Songs Howie Would Sanitize To. I imagined him judging my Google search history. To cats, get depressed if you're boring. And that shift, small, strange, deeply personal, was powerful. I didn't feel like I was hiding anymore. I felt amused, seen, safe. Not because Howie Mandel cured my anxiety, but because he gave me a way to live with it, to laugh with it, to stand next to it like an old friend who never shuts up but somehow always shows up when it matters. So no, this chapter isn't about hand sanitizer. It's about the moment I stopped apologizing for the weird things that helped me stay afloat. And if that means my mental health co-pilot is a clean freak with a great sense of humor and a Canadian passport, well, at least I'm in good hands.
Well now, if that didn't clear your mind and sanitize your soul, I don't know what will. Come back next week for another chapter. Same time, same weirdness. Hit subscribe, keep it quiet, and remember, this never happened.